Hi, kindergartners. It's time for today's interactive read aloud. And today we're reading the story called Mole's Hill. This is the next book in our text set 18, our Lois Ellert author and illustrator study. All the books that we're reading in IRA are books written by Lois Ellert. So today we're thinking and looking at the color and the texture in her books. So on the front cover, we see the title called Mole's Hill. We also have the illustrator's name and the author's name, which is always on the front cover of our book. So we see an interesting animal. The title is called Mole's Hill, but this does not look like a mole to me. What animal does this look like? Yeah, it looks like a raccoon, doesn't it? With the striped tail and the mask on the face. Okay, so we are going to talk about a mole. Do you know what a mole is? It's a very small animal. And a mole digs holes. That is what it does. So they dig holes underground, and when they dig holes underground, you end up with big piles of dirt and grass on top of the ground. And that's called a mole hill. So in this story, we're going to hear about a mole, her hill, and a problem she must solve. As you listen to the story, think about how it is alike and how it is different from the other Lois Ellert books we have read. Okay, I'm going to keep the camera on today as I read so I can show you some of the illustrations in this book and we can talk about them. I think it's a little hard to see sometimes from the video. Mole's Hill by Lois Ellert. Mole's Hill, a woodland tale. So woodland would be forest. I think you're going to really love the bright, colorful illustrations in this story. It was dark in the woods, but not everyone was sleeping. The stars were out. So was Fox. Okay, we see the stars out, and we see black behind the plants. So that tells us it's nighttime. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Fox knew that sound. It was Mole digging a tunnel. Another hump of dirt, snarled Fox. Where there's a mole, there's a mess. So does Fox seem happy about the mole hill? He doesn't. He's saying that the mole leaves a mess. Digging tunnels was what Mole did best, always on the lookout for a juicy worm for breakfast. But once in a while she took a break and popped outside. That's when she found a note. Okay, so here's that's the mole. And here's her hill, her tunnel that she's made. Here's her mole hill on top of the grass. And here's the note that says her name, Mole. Dear Mole, meet us tonight at the maple tree. And it's signed Fox, Skunk, and Raccoon. So you can tell this looks like a tree bark of a white birch. It's really pretty illustration. When the sun went down, Mole hurried to the meeting. We're planning a path to the pond, said Fox, and your hill is in our way. It must go. How do you think that's going to make Mole feel? Fox says when the maple leaves turn red and orange, you'll have to move, said Raccoon. Better listen to Fox. He's got big teeth. Mole's snout quivered. This was not good news. So if it quivered, she was scared like she was that and kind of moved really fast. It looks like the raccoon is trying to catch some food, maybe some fish for lunch or dinner. Mole went home. She didn't want to move. She loved her home right where it was. Suddenly, she had an idea. Okay, so this is above the ground. It's what you see on top of the ground, but this is what's going on under the ground. We have the mole and her tunnel. Here's her worm she's eating. Looks like she's got some more worms down there. Some days later, Raccoon and Skunk strolled by Mole's hill. It looked bigger. I wonder what that mole is up to, Raccoon said. I'm not quite sure. Each night, Mole kept digging and digging, dumping the dirt on top of her hill. Many moons passed. The hill grew bigger and bigger. It was time for the next step. So, boys and girls, this is a cool illustration because the black represents darkness. And what do you think the yellow is representing? Yeah, the moon. You've ever seen a moon where it's full and completely round? Yep. Those are the phases of the moon. Pretty cool picture. Mole gathered seeds she had saved and waited for the full moon. So if it's a full moon, then the moon is completely round. She climbed her hill, planted the seeds in the dirt as she went along. What do you think her idea is? Soon, flower seeds grew up and burst into bloom, and the grass seeds inched up and made a furry carpet. Look how beautiful this is, boys and girls. Look at how Lois Ehlert used different bright, beautiful colors to create this illustration. I don't think she used crayons or markers or paints. It looks a lot like she used fabric or fancy paper and cut everything out in the shape that she wanted and then put everything together to create the flowers and the grass and the beautiful butterflies. Okay, so we have how the grass inched up to make a furry carpet. I love that. That's so cool. I never thought of grass as a furry carpet before. Mole enjoyed her hill for the rest of the summer. There we see Mole right in the middle of her hill. Right here. Then one day the maple leaves turned red and orange. Just like that, summer was over. Raccoon and Skunk had forgotten all about Mole, so when Fox had sent them to see if she had moved, they were in for a big surprise. What do you think the big surprise is going to be? Okay, well, let's see what they think of her hill. What a hill, said Raccoon. What a pickle, said Skunk. If we made Mole move now, she'll take this great hill with her. Do they like her hill? It appears they do. Fox was not going to believe this. Of course he didn't. He had to see that hill with his own 2 eyes. Mole knew he'd come sooner or later. She was waiting. Fox circled Mole's hill on his 4 furry feet. I've been thinking, he said. What we need is a tunnel. Then our path could go through your hill. Can you dig it, Mole? I can, said Mole. And she did. Wow. Friends, think about what changed in this story. Who changed the most in this story? What character? Yeah, the fox changed because at the beginning, did he like Mole's Hill? No, it was a problem for him. He wanted it gone. He wanted Mole to fix the problem and move her home. But Mole solves the problem. She convinces Fox to change his mind because she builds a beautiful garden on her hill. Does he change his mind? Yeah. How does he change? What does he say that he wants to do instead of asking her to get rid of her home? Yeah, he said, "Can you make a tunnel that we can go through it?" So at the beginning of our story, we notice that Fox is kind of mean and kind of bossy. Is he the same at the end, or has he maybe changed a little? Yeah, it appears that he has changed a little bit. So think about how Lois Ehlert created the illustrations in this book. Okay, remember, everything was so bright and colorful. And everything has very sharp and a lot of straight lines and very detailed pictures. So it really looks like she drew what she was going to illustrate or use for her illustrations. She may have drawn it with pencil, but then she cut everything out and put it all together. Do you think this would take a long time or be easy to do? Yeah, it probably took her quite a while to do it, but it really makes this story stand out in comparison to other books where people just use paint or other colors. Friends, do you think this story, Mole's Hill, could really happen in real life? Yeah, it really couldn't happen in real life because animals don't really talk, do they? No, but do moles really dig hills? Yeah, they really do. Very good. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story and that you got to see a different side of Lois Ehlert in between this story and Top Cat. This one was a little different than Top Cat, and it was a little different than Feathers for Lunch and even our Snowball story. All right, boys and girls, have a great day. Thanks for being good listeners.